Here is Senator Elizabeth Warren talking about Social Security in a way that actually makes sense.
The absolute last thing we should do in 2013, at the very moment that Social Security has become the principal lifeline for millions of our seniors, is allow the program to be dismantled inch by inch. Over the past generation, working families have been hacked at, chipped, and hammered. If we want a real middle class that continues to serve as the backbone of our country, then we must take the retirement crisis seriously. Seniors have worked their entire lives and have paid into this system. But right now, more people than ever are on the edge of financial disaster once they retire, and the numbers continue to get worse. That is why we should be talking about expanding Social Security benefits, not cutting them.
Expanding Social Security, not cutting it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you frame an issue. This is what an actual liberal Democrat sounds like. This is what an actual progressive would say. If you want to cut Social Security, you're an idiot. We should expand Social Security for reasons X, Y, and Z. That's how you attack the issue. And what happens when you do that is you drag the spectrum of debate back to the left. So then if you are the majority party, which the Democrats are in the Senate, and they have the presidency, which means they have the bully pulpit, you can set the agenda, you can set the tone. So if all of you get on the same page and all of you argue for expanding Social Security and you present a couple plans to expand it, then what happens? When the Republicans start talking about cutting it, you say, oh, well, if we can't come to an agreement here, we concede, and I guess we'll just leave the program alone. How brilliant is that? This is how you negotiate. This is how you frame an issue. And what's the response from the conservatives when we say things like this? They say, well, we need to cut earned benefit programs because they're adding to the deficit. No, they are not. Social Security has its own trust fund. It's not part of the general budget. Don't take my word for it. Take your saint, God, overlord, supreme chancellor, emperor, Ronald Reagan's word for it.
Well, Social Security, let's lay it to rest once and for all. I told you never would I do such a thing. But I tell you also now, Social Security has nothing to do with the deficit. Social Security is totally funded by the payroll tax levied on employer and employee. If you reduce the outgo of Social Security, that money would not go into the general fund to reduce a deficit. It would go into the Social Security Trust Fund. So Social Security has nothing to do with balancing a budget or erasing or lowering the deficit.
Look at how much the political spectrum has shifted to the right. We have Democrats today calling for cuts in Social Security and Medicare, when back then the Republicans couldn't even call for cuts in the program because they knew it was political suicide. And also, Ronald Reagan is 100% correct there. I never thought I'd say those words. But what he's saying is Social Security has its own trust fund. It has nothing to do with the general budget and the deficit. So hands off of it. In fact, Social Security has a $2.7 trillion surplus. It is one of the most successful anti-poverty programs in American history. It is wildly popular, not just among Democrats, but also among Republicans. In fact, before it was implemented, poverty among senior citizens was in the high 30 percentile range, so 38% thereabouts. And then afterwards, it dropped to 11%. That is an overwhelming success. This is not something you can just cut back on, especially since we're in a democracy and the American people want it. That should be the end of the discussion right there. But also because we have a depressed economy. I mean, with this recession going on, the middle class and the poor are still doing horribly. The only people doing better are the rich. And now you want to cut the last lifeline of the American people? The earned benefit program, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? I mean, you must be out of your mind to think that. But I guess the Democrats and Republicans of today are both out of their minds.